Hey Charlotte,
Hi, Richard. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm surviving, my friend.
Are you healthy? Are you feeling okay? All good?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I got a cough. I have like a dry cough and sneezing, but I'm doing okay. Yeah, I've been in self quarantine for almost 2 weeks now, and so if I have it, I'm almost asymptomatic.
Yeah, same. I mean, we've been over 2 weeks, and I've for the last 2 years I've had an occasional dry cough, and it's allergies, and like that's the thing is that the most benign thing, the most benign cough, or like if you get a little sneezing fit or something, it's turned into everybody's fearing the worst, which I completely understand. But the what I hope is that people are at least responsible enough that they're not walking into hospitals, unless they're really feeling like this could be weird.
And that's what I did a couple nights ago. I was feeling really short of breath. I had
But
asthma when I was a
that's
kid.
that's not normal. That's not a normal symptom. So
It's not. It's not. But I just calmed down and realized that it's probably not anything really bad. I took some Benadryl. It went away in about an hour, and it was
good.
fixed.
Good.
But I think the paranoia right now makes us want to, you
Totally.
know,
Totally.
yeah.
I'm so happy that we became acquainted on Twitter because I'm you're like one of my favorite follows now, and I could look forward to everything you tweet and have to say, and I kind of just wanted to. I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
First of all, how are you spending your time? Because when I became aware of you, and we became aware, and we sort of got in touch on Twitter, it was really right before all this crazy shit started to happen.
That's right.
So I
Yeah.
was seeing your passion for the things that you talk about and write about, and I wonder, do you feel creative with this downtime, or do you feel like you're just completely not in that headspace and you're really just sort of existing and being and trying to be in the moment and present?
I think the latter. Yeah, trying to be in the moment and present is the challenge right now. Because I'm in grad school and classes have not stopped. Like they're still doing
Right.
classes and doing online classes. I still got work to do, so I have to do the 9 to 5 remotely.
Right.
So it's a lot, and it's funny because I really want to use all this downtime to write more and just be creative. And life didn't stop. We still have
Right.
responsibilities that you have to do from home, and I'm lucky. I'm very lucky to still have my job, and because a lot of folks have lost their job, these past 2 weeks.
No, awful, awful.
Awful. Really
That's
awful.
when I check in with people, whether it's this little social distancing show or just in general, um, I'm insanely grateful that I'm always able to say, we're great, we're fine.
Yeah.
But that said, my wife and I are sort of, I wouldn't even say a daily conversation. We have every few hours, we consciously talk about how horrible it is for so many people right now. People that are still having to go to work because they can't afford to not go to work, for an employer that won't pay them if they don't come into work. People that are already sick, people that are being. I heard about this woman the other night. Maybe I even tweeted about it. I'm not sure. There was a woman whose daughter, a 17-year-old daughter, got a job at a grocery store last year, and she won't stop going to work. She's going to work every day, and her mother's like beside herself with fear because I would be too. And this teenage girl said, I can't let them down. There's so much to do. I have to go to work. I'll do the best I can to take care of myself, but I can't not go. And it's like, these are the kind of, like, never before did I really, no disrespect, but I didn't put grocery store employees in the category of hero until now, but they're absolutely heroes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's funny. I'm the same way. And my mother and several of my relatives worked in grocery stores when I was a kid, and I still didn't put it together either until these past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Going into because I went the first day, my first big day of grocery shopping to prepare for this. I went to the Walmart downtown because it was the only place that was well stocked. and it was packed. People were angry. They were frustrated.
Yeah, and kind of taking it out on the employees, which is really lame.
Which is terrible. It's terrible. I mean, these folks are working 12-hour shifts, just trying to get folks the supplies they need to ride this thing out. And you can tell they're exhausted. They're just so tired.
Yeah.
They're so tired.
Of course, it's exhausting. Now you're in DC, right?
I am, yeah.
And so do you have any sense of whether it's different city to city, or, a crowd, like a very populated city like yours versus, we're in Malibu, California, but still, in fact, the question I'm going to ask you is before I even let you answer that question is, have you noticed a real curve in activity in the last 48 hours? Because 2 days ago, Malibu Pier was packed. The beaches were packed. It was a gorgeous day. There's this restaurant down the street called Malibu Seafood. There was a line out the door of people getting fucking seafood.
Oh God.
This close to each other. Are you seeing, but today we're really seeing a difference. They bless you. They've shut all the beach parking lots down. They've shut the hiking trails down. The fact that it had to come to that is ridiculous. But are you seeing like business as usual, or are you seeing people like waking the fuck up finally?
They're starting to wake the fuck up, which is good. But even in fact, it was 2 days ago on Sunday, I went for another grocery store run, and I just, seeing, these tightly packed groups of tourists still visiting DC, walking around in the monuments, folks in restaurants that I saw when I was driving by. It just blew my mind. It blew my mind. And fortunately that's over. Like the mayor actually ordered today for all non-essential businesses to close.
Yeah.
Regardless of who they are.
Yeah.
But it's sad that, despite all the warnings given from experts that, lawmakers have to step in and force that.
Yeah.
Because we're all adults, right? We're all adults. We all should be a little reasonable about this. And, DC is, a lot of educated folks here. And yet, their asses were out in restaurants and bars this weekend, just likely spreading the virus.
Yeah, absolutely. Not even likely, but like absolutely spreading the virus.
Oh yeah.
It's just another chapter in this irritating book that I find myself reading in life, which is, and I say this all the time, I don't understand how we arguably have never had easier and better access to real information.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, of course. Now we're, there's agenda attached to so many pieces of information, but there's still a tremendous amount of factual scientific information that is easily available. And people, in my opinion, have never been more stupid.
It reminds me of that joke from a couple of years back. I hold in my hands this device that can look up the world's information at my fingertips, and I use it to look at cat memes and tweets all day.
Exactly.
It's just we are really spoiled with resources and information, and we kind of take it for granted, which is sad.
Right. So, sort of like this. It's probably this mentality of like, I don't need to look that up now, or I don't need to learn about that now. I can do that anytime now. I can learn Spanish on my phone in a week or whatever.
Or we expect someone else to do it. Right.
Exactly. So what's your optimistic take on all this, if there is one?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough, friend. I think in the short term, I'm not optimistic. I don't think that hopefully Trump does not get his way, which, I say that every 6 months, and yet he ends up getting his way somehow. But hopefully he doesn't get his way, and we do remain closed for the next, 8 to 12 weeks to really flatten the curve on this thing. I will say that long term, my hope is that this will be the awakening that makes us reorganize society in a way that's more equitable and sustainable for everyone. I mean, this is supposed to be a country where no one gets left behind, that we're all helping each other out. And it's unfortunate that it took this global deadly virus to force us to look at the folks who, are so integral to how society runs that we often take for granted.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was talking to somebody yesterday about the the coming together, the being there for each other aspect of what you just said. And, you know, the last time I saw anything like that was immediately following 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel any of that with this. No. And I think that the reason is, and the only reason I could come up with in the conversation I had with my friend yesterday was, he said, well, why do you think that is? And I said, I think it was because, first of all, 9/11 happened to us, to mm-hmm. America, and it happened that fast, and it was absolutely just unfathomable and instant and complete. And it was just immediately we were put into a period of mourning and coming together. And the week or so, even maybe a couple of weeks following that, just the sense of courtesy and the sense of kindness that had sort of left most of us mm-hmm. was such a beautiful thing to see in the shadow of something so awful. And I'm not really seeing that with this. And I think it's because this is so gradual and it's so politicized and it's so, the fact that there are still people, even if you are a diehard Trump supporter, I always say, look, you can support Donald Trump and criticize the way he's handling this or that or this. It doesn't take away from you still being a Trump supporter. If you stop critical thinking to that point, you're just a zombie. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's so much of that on both sides, that we're at a point now where it's like, maybe we've lost the ability to really band together as humans, as just being decent people to each other. And it's really kind of disheartening.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, I was 14 on 9/11, and looking back, it's interesting how fast everyone was able to coalesce around the idea that, you know, this was not our fault. Right. And that there's an enemy. There's a clear enemy. This is not our fault. So the problem is that we have to go after the enemy. This is different because in a way we all do share complicity. And when we have to share responsibility in the problem, suddenly it becomes harder for us to buy into it.
Yeah.
And you know, when you wrap it up in this incredibly politically divided atmosphere that we're currently in, it makes it all the more complicated.
Yeah.
Which is sad, which is really, really sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. How many years did you serve? And you served in the Army, right?
I did. I served for 6 years. Yeah, I didn't deploy though. I enlisted in 2005, and I spent the bulk of my service with the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment in Arlington National Cemetery. So the casket teams that you see every now and then carrying the flag draped casket, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was sobering. You know, it was.
Do you look back on that experience now and feel like you were really glad you did it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the time, I didn't like it at all. Right. I mean, I took it very seriously, and I was honored to do it. But, you know, carrying a casket and listening to a family mourn,
yeah,
it's not fun.
No, of course not. But it must have given you quite if not, I imagine that you were born with a compassionate perspective. Obviously, I think we are. But some people lose it in their lifetimes and in their life experiences. I would imagine that only just sent it skyrocketing for you.
It did. And I think what I really loved about that unit was I'm very self-righteous. I was a self-righteous little shit when I was a kid. So, you know, I had a very strong value system early on, and I wanted to follow it. And that unit really made me feel like I was part of something bigger than myself, which has always been important to me, that I'm part of a big movement, or I like the idea of a team, you know?
Community, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Community has always been pretty important to me.
Yeah.
And for you, I imagine for you it's the same.
No, I just only care about me. And as long as my hair looks good, I don't care.
I love it.
No, I've been fortunate enough in my life to have had really great mentors, my father and my mother, who taught me when I was a little kid how hard to fight against injustices. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because my father was a conservative, My mom was a lifelong Democrat until about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and as has happened with a lot of people as they've gotten older, they've shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
My mom and I don't talk politics.
That's a good idea.
She's awesome. She's amazing. But they both taught me when I was a little kid that it wasn't enough to just mentally be against prejudice and bigotry and whatever and injustices. It wasn't enough to just internally be against it. You have to say something and you have to fight against it. And so a lot of what I see, like even in this situation, you know, the president of the United States deliberately and in a calculated way, up until yesterday, referring to it as the Chinese virus, like anything to deflect his responsibility, like that kind of stuff just makes me crazy. And I can tell from our Twitter relationship that it is the same for you.
It bothers the hell out of me. And, you know, I think what's been really interesting about this whole episode, it is the most potent example in recent memory of when I was very aware of my white privilege. Because when this whole Corona thing happened, it was, you know, ramping up, it just never occurred to me that when people would frame it, or journalists early on would frame it as the thing that originated in China, the Chinese people and folks of other Asian descent would be attacked. I just never thought about that. And then seeing the report slowly come out was really surprising. And it kind of made me, you know, just be reminded that, oh yeah, I don't have to consider this because I'm white, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wish you continued health and safety for you and your loved ones. And we'll keep hanging out on Twitter. And I'm glad we finally got a chance to be face to face.
I gotta say, your eloquence and how should I say this? Classy smackdowns are some of the best parts of Twitter. I love them so much. You have a lot of fans for good reason.
What's that?
You have a lot of fans for good reason.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. Same to you. I feel the same about you. You be well, and thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit.
Hey, you too. Mwah.
Charlotte. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.